I'm finally doing it after 42 years, leaving California. But I'm not saving a dang old dime. Not in the way people think, anyway. Here's the reality of it all. If you're a man in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, carrying family, paying real bills, trying to make smart decisions, and you feel like the math of life just isn't mathing anymore, this video is for you. I'm Matt. Some people know me as Coach Rock. I'm a husband, a father, a career business guy, former small business owner, and someone who actually understands numbers, budgets, P&Ls, cost control, and what it means to run a household responsibly. Not as some expert, just the guy who lives it. So this is not one of those videos where some idiot's just saying, man, everything's expensive, and leaves it there. This is me telling you, as a real guy living in a real world, I'm finally leaving California for another state. And I'm not saving a dime. Not in the way people think I should, anyway. And that right there is the real part that's driving me nuts. Because people still talk like moving out of California automatically means your life gets cheap. That somebody waves a magic wand. Like you cross the state line and suddenly gas is free, groceries are normal, homes are affordable, car insurance drops through the floor, and life is just magically manageable again. I wish. That's not what I'm seeing as someone who's actually doing it. Before somebody jumps into the comments with, well, you need to cut expenses, let me just stop you right there, okay? I know how to cut expenses, all right? I'm not a moron. I've done budgets. I run businesses. I've had to watch cost. I know the difference between needs, between wants. I know what waste looks like, okay? This is not that. This is the reality that what used to be called normal life now costs a hell of a lot more than what people are giving the advice seem to understand. But I think there's a reason for that. You know, for example, people say dumb things like, cut the cell phone bills. Cut the cell phones? Look, I get the instinct, but what year do you think this is in as far as how the world needs you to operate with the cell phone? A phone is not a luxury anymore. It's not cutting HBO in 1997, all right, gang? All right? Phones are our infrastructure, right? Your job uses them, your bank uses them. Hell, even your kid's school uses them. Every account you log into wants to text you a code. Every security system wants verification. Every application for a job and password reset and login seems to run through your dagnam cell phone. So when somebody says, put the cell phone bill, cut it out, what they're really saying is, hey, you don't actually need to survive and live in the modern world. Okay, that's idiotic and stupid. Now, with the phone thing, I mean, could you switch carriers and go to someone less expensive? Well, maybe. But then what do people giving you that advice leave out? We got to think about the whole picture here. The phone still costs money. The fees still cost money. The taxes still cost money. And then if you don't own the device outright, that monthly bill adds up. I'm not going to dive into it. Just do the research. For a family, that stuff is not optional anymore. Phones aren't optional anymore. Same thing with the internet. People still treat the internet and the advice about the internet as a luxury. No, it's not. Not if your work touches it. Not if your job hunting needs need it. Not if your kid's school needs it. Not if your bills, banking, passwords, applications, and daily life run through it. The internet isn't luxury anymore. It's part of the infrastructure and functioning of normal life like electricity. And now, let's talk groceries. We're a family of 5. And if you think trying to keep a grocery budget around $2,000 a month sounds insane, like that's an incredibly high budget for 5 people, $100 a week each, then you probably really haven't shopped for a real family in a while. Because the old advice of just budget better sounds great until you're buying, real food, protein-produced snacks, basic household items, school stuff, school lunch stuff, dog food, cleaning supplies, and just normal life. And no, I'm not out here eating ribeyes and caviar every night. I'm talking regular life. $100 per week per person is almost impossible to hit. And to make this a little bit more real, a little more personal, I'm willing to put myself out there a little bit. I'm going to put a screenshot on the screen showing what my minimum monthly bills actually look like at 42 years old leaving California. This isn't going to be theory. This isn't internet math and not some, finance channel spreadsheet. These are my minimum bills leaving California. And what shocked a lot of people who I know when they saw this is what's not in the screenshot. As you can see, there is no spending allowance in there. What you're looking at is the baseline. There's no line item for taking the kids out to eat twice a month. There's no line item for buying my son a Happy Meal. There's no line item for ice cream or a vacation. There's no line item for back to school clothes, socks, underwear, random stuff the kids need or normal life things that come up. There's no savings bucket in there. Not at all. No emergency fund. No contributions to 401ks. No, just in case the car needs tires or what are we gonna do with this medical expense? No, what happens if the transmission in the car blows up? And you're gonna notice something else. I mean, really look. I have no car payments. Yeah, think about that for a minute. I mean, really. These are the minimum bills without a car payment, which most people don't have the luxury of. And that matters because I worked really, really hard to get to a place where I don't have any car payments. Because what the newer cars cost now, we made a decision, we're never doing that again. We're going to fix the ones we have as they break and keep them running to avoid any amount of massive car payment, which is like $800 to $1,600 a month right now. But here's the problem. Let me show the screenshot again. These are the minimum bills just to barely keep life moving. And I'm not complaining. This is a reality. And they do not include a car payment. Again, I can't drill that in enough. They also do not include a budget to fix a car if it breaks. Think about that for a second. I'm 42 years old. I'm over 2 decades into my career. I work really hard. I understand money. I understand how to budget. And this is what the minimum looks like without a new car payment, without a new car or a used car, without padding for something in life that might go wrong. That means this is the number just to keep the lights on, the family moving, and life functioning. No upgrades, no luxury, no margin. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand, honestly. When people say, just cut back, I want to ask them, cut back on what? From the emergency fund that isn't there? From the car payment I don't have? From the money set aside for the repair that also isn't there in that line item? From the fund budget that doesn't exist? This is not a bloated lifestyle. What you saw is baseline. And that's what makes modern life feel so dangerous. Because if you're carrying a family and these are your minimums and one income disappears, things get real freaking fast. Not, let's just tighten up a little. They get freaking, I'm not going to be without a home real. If you don't have a family nearby, if you don't have someone with an extra room or a couch or a backup plan, people can end up in a very, very bad place faster than most advice givers even seem to understand these days. And this is where I think the real mental health conversation for men kicks in. Because I don't think men are stressed out right now because they're weak. I think they're stressed out because the cost of the modern life and carrying a normal life has changed faster than the advice has. The advice needs an upgrade. Look, and if you think I'm exaggerating, look at what the medium full-time worker actually makes today on average. So men and women, let's say they're taking home, the main average $70,000, $80,000 a year, right? Right? And the advice givers will be like, hey, that looks great on paper. And then we've got 401k, health insurance, before all the deductions, and the real paycheck of what that'll actually look like can vary. And I think what frustrates a lot of men is they know they're being responsible. They know they're not being reckless. They know they're working hard. They know they're carrying a lot of people. They know they're doing what they were told to do. And then they look around and go, why does this still feel this tight? That's the real question, don't you think? And I think the more men need to say it out loud without feeling ashamed of it. Because the answer is not always that you're bad with your money, because you're not. Sometimes the answer really is the game has changed. I'm telling you, the game has changed. Now, before I hit the gym, now that the hike is done, I do want to say or state that this doesn't mean there's nothing we can do. No, that's not what I'm saying. This isn't a, oh, we're so screwed video. We can still stay sharp, make the best decisions we can, avoid making stupid, depreciating, asset debt decisions like really expensive cars and things like that. And we can still try to improve our situation and position any way we can. But let's stop pretending that every answer is just, well, make your coffee at home and cancel your $16.99 subscription to Netflix. That child level advice for adult level problems is what we're all damn sick of. The point of this video is not to rant. The point is to level set the reality. I'm leaving California. I'm making what I believe is a smart move. Not that it's the smartest move on paper or any different, but I've looked at the numbers. I understand budgets. I understand the trade-offs. And the truth is, cheaper places are not the cheat code people think they are anymore. You saw my numbers, and that's my numbers after leaving California. Now, some of these places may be better, they may be smarter, and they still might be the right move. For us, they were, for other reasons aside from financially, but they are not some magical financial reset button. At least they're not anymore. So if you're a man carrying a household right now and you're feeling the pressure of that, I want to let you know you're not crazy. You're not weak, and you're not lazy. You're living in one of the weirdest economic windows people in our generation have probably ever seen. And that deserves an honest conversation. It really does. If this sounds familiar, drop a comment. Tell me where the math stopped making sense for you. Because here's the thing. I guarantee I'm not the only one doing the math and the numbers and wondering, why do things still feel this tight, right? So, look, you're not crazy. You're not lazy. There's nothing wrong with you. The game has changed, right? And again, this isn't a we're so screwed video. The world is falling. What it is sometimes we need to have an honest conversation. The other piece is we really have to understand the game that we're playing in order to move our pieces. And the truth of the matter is, especially for us around our age, the game changed. Again, right? This isn't a rant. The game has changed. Let's learn the game we're playing now. And if we learn the game we're playing, we can learn how to win, right? That's what this is supposed to be. But for me, and if any of you are like me, I had to say the hard part out loud. It was after I met with other men, talked with other people, because as men, we don't usually do that, right? And that was the hardest thing. Hey, are you noticing X, Y, and Z? Are you afraid if you lose your job that it means X, Y, and Z? Or since when if I did lose a job or run into a hard time or had to have a lapse in coverage of this, that it meant almost homelessness or a severe economic downturn for my family, when usually people were able just to stay a little tight and be okay for a few months while they figured things out. But it feels like it's all or nothing. You're not crazy for feeling that way. You're not, right? And we can sit here and talk about how unfair it is and all that stuff. And sure, let's do that. But let's do that while we work to fix it, right? Let's do that while we work to fix it. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear more from you out there. Look, I was trying to be a little bit more vulnerable and brutally honest here. Shared as much as I felt comfortable sharing, those screenshots and things like that. Obviously, there's some other bills and stuff, right? But I just wanted to share what the bare minimum would look like if things really happen bad for our family tomorrow. What's the minimum amount? And that's what those were. What's the minimum amount of bills? What's the basics look like for us if we got rid of everything, right? Because I'm blessed enough to be working and things like that. But if things ended tomorrow, what does our minimum baseline look like? And it's freaking scary. It's scary. And I know I've talked to other men that see that too. So I want to let you know, if that's how you feel, you're not crazy. There's many of us out there feeling like that right now, right? Best thing we can do is be there for each other and try to do something about it. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a good one.